you're very welcome to this week's Meath County Matters, where we're coming to you from the village of Carlingstown. And here's what's coming up on tonight's show. I chat to Margaret Gray, the chairperson of the Carlingstown Kilbed Community Development, about their productive Tidy Towns Committee. I speak to the secretary of the Hope for Cain campaign, Mandy Shipp, as she explains the current fundraising efforts in a final bid to raise money so Cain can receive a life-changing operation in Boston. We speak to the owner of Kiernan's pub, Sean Kiernan, alongside his mother Agnes, as they tell us the family history of the pub, which has been in their hands for 5 generations. Finally, we speak to local guitar instructor Ken Brothers as his talented group play us out. Well, first up tonight, I'm going to chat to Margaret Gray, who's the chairperson of the Tidy Towns Committee here in Carlingstown. She's going to tell me all about the volunteers who help make Carlingstown look so great.
Our group formed in 2011 and we've been actively working to improve the presentation of the village since then and entering various competitions along the way.
Brilliant. And can you tell me about some of the projects that you have been involved in to enhance the town?
Well, I suppose in 2011, when we started out first, we worked along the approach roads doing a very deep clean, trying to reclaim our grass verges, and we gathered an enormous amount of deeply embedded rubbish along the way. But having done that work initially, we then undertook a series of planting schemes on the approach roads. We planted a butterfly garden. We enhanced the planting schemes in the centre of the village. We are also currently undertaking a field naming exercise, and we are going to erect new signage on the approach roads to the village this year.
Excellent. And so a lot of work taking place. Can you tell me about the other members involved, and is it from these kind of different members that the ideas sort of generate?
Well, part of the Tidy Towns ethos is that every community that enters would have a Tidy Towns plan. So the committee would have sat down and discussed the development of a Tidy Towns plan. We have a 5-year plan in place that's revised every year in tandem with the projects that we undertake. And that plan, if you like, forms the work plan for the year. We have a member of our work team, a team leader on the ground, who supervises the implementation of the plan, Nikita Carlin, and she supervises the work of the volunteers and our TUS workers. So collectively together they implement the plan on the ground.
Excellent. And I see that there's some members out busy working today. Can you tell us what they're up to? They're
putting the final touches, if you like, to the presentation of the village in preparation for our Pride of Place judging, which take place on Thursday morning. So everybody's all hands on deck this week, trying to have the place looking its best for Thursday morning. And the local residents and the business community row in behind us and are very actively involved, ensuring that their premises are presented at their best, that their hanging baskets are out, that final touch of paint is applied, and making sure that collectively, we all work together to present the village at its best for the judging.
And I have to say, Margaret, the town itself is looking extremely well, and the community must take, as you said, great pride in keeping it the way it is.
Absolutely. In terms of achievements, people look at, say, the accolades of the Tidy Towns and the Pride of Place Awards, but really the big achievement here is the fact that there is a growing sense of community spirit, and there's obviously a great sense of pride, everybody taking a great sense of pride in how their own premises is presented and how the village as a whole is presented. And there's lots of positive feedback from both local people and from visitors to the area about how well the place looks, and that gives everybody a sense of achievement.
And Margaret, I know in Carlingstown there's, with the Tidy Towns, the Pride of Place coming up, but there must be a lot of other projects in the pipeline. Can you tell us what's next?
Well, an important element of the Tidy Towns competition is sustainable waste management, and in that regard one of the initiatives we undertook last year was the establishment of a community thrift shop, and the ethos is really to reduce, reuse, recycle. Traditionally we've all been recycling, if you like, as the first port of call in terms of waste management, but now the focus is very much on reducing waste and then reusing it if possible, and recycling as a third option. So what we're doing here is we are using items that otherwise are not needed by people in the community to raise money to bring back in to fund projects within the community. Another big project that we're about to undertake is the development of an amenity space within the village. We have recently signed a licence agreement with Meath County Council for a 20-acre site in the village to develop an amenity and recreational space for the people within this community.
And so finally, for people that would like to get involved and maybe to come and volunteer, how can they best contact you guys?
Well, we have a website and a Facebook page, and the committee members would all be well known within the community. We are always looking for volunteers, and there's a number of different projects on which we require voluntary support. The Tidy Towns being an important one, our community thrift shop being another, and there are a number of other projects. The Deer Park Development Project, the amenity park is also another project. So there's lots of projects, and we would welcome anybody who is interested in getting involved and supporting the development of our community.
So next up, I meet Mandy Shipp, who's the secretary of the Hope for Cain campaign. The campaign will raise much needed funds for little Cain MacDonald Lynch, who will go to Boston, where he will undergo a life-changing operation. So Mandy, as the secretary for the Hope for Cain campaign, can you tell us firstly, for our viewers who don't know who Cain is?
Yeah, Cain is 4 years old. He's from Carlingstown. Basically he has a condition called dyskeratosis congenita. It affects 1 in a million, and he's very badly affected by his condition. He went blind just before his first birthday, and then in 2013 they realised that his bone marrow was failing, so he had a bone marrow transplant. That was very successful. But just kind of between Christmas and New Year of this year, he was in and out of hospital a lot. His oxygen levels were falling, and they couldn't find out why. But after about 5 or 6 weeks, he was diagnosed with microscopic pulmonary avums, which basically means his lungs are failing, so he needs a lung transplant.
Okay, and Cain, he's currently, how old is Cain now?
He's 4. Yeah, so he's good. Like he's a lovely little boy. Great crack. Like he, loves to mess and play and chat, and like any 4-year-old, he's a lovely little fella.
Yeah, boys will be boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, Mandy, can you tell us about the different types of fundraising sort of activities and events that have taken place?
Yeah, there's been lots of things, from cake sales, tractor runs. And we've launched the Cracking for Cain egg challenge, basically like the ice bucket challenge, but you crack an egg on your head instead of water. So basically you crack the egg, nominate 5 people, and you donate €2 by texting Cain to 57802. So we launched that there back in July, and it's been very successful. So yeah, that's one of the bigger kind of things we've done.
And has something like you mentioned, the cracking of the egg, Cracking for Cain, like the ice bucket challenge, has it taken off?
Yeah, it has. Locally, definitely it has. A lot of the local football clubs, drama clubs, the youth club, loads of people have gotten involved. It's gone as far as Australia, where the football teams over in Australia have taken it on. Different teams are challenging each other or nominating each other to do it, so it's great. It's really, really good.
Now, Mandy, I do understand that it has reached the hearts of some celebrities, some well-known Irish faces. Can you tell us who's been involved?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to have PJ Gallagher come out to Carlingstown along with Damien Farley, the DJ. They launched the whole Cracking for Cain egg challenge. We also had Brendan O'Carroll, who's Mrs. Brown. He did the Cracking for Cain challenge as well. So we really appreciated their support. It's great to have well-known Irish faces help us, get the word out there about Cain. Conor McGregor also had it up on his Facebook page, asking people for his support, and we did a lot of feedback from that, saying that people heard about Cain through his post. So it's brilliant like that for anyone out there with a big following, a lot of likes on Facebook, and a lot of followers, that they get the word as well. So.
And I believe we're hoping to have an auction as well of some of the donated
Yeah, we have a few pieces that we've got very luckily to get donated. We have a signed guitar from Niall Horan, so I'm sure that will, cause great interest. And we also have a signed putter by Justin Rose. We were lucky enough, somebody was over at the British Open and they got a putter signed, so that's another great piece to have as well. Yeah, so we're hoping to get all the other pieces we have. We've a signed t-shirt by Nathan Carter. We have a signed picture by Stephen Gerrard as well. So we're going to put a few pieces together and have a big auction, and hopefully that will raise more money as well.
Brilliant. Yeah. And for people that want to keep up to date when that's happening, they can do the Facebook page.
Yeah, we have our Facebook page, Hope for Cain, and we also have a website, www.hopeforcain.com. So all the details go up. We have a Twitter page as well, at Hope for Cain, and we basically updating it all the time with different events that are coming up. Of course, we've our ways to donate as well, the PayPal account and the GoFundMe page. And we've bank details as well. There is bank details there. If anybody wants to lodge money directly into Cain's account, they can do so as well. So all the details are on the Facebook and website.
So if you want to get involved too, text Cain to 57802. And with that, now Cain's sister is going to crack an egg on my head. So everyone, get involved. Text Cain 57802. Well, it's time for us now to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere, because here's what's coming up in part 2. I visit Kiernan's pub, a landmark that's been in the Kiernan family for 5 generations, and music to play us out from the local guitar group led by Ken Brothers. And you're very welcome back to part 2, as next up we head to Kieran's pub, a landmark here in Carlingstown, and has been in the family name for 5 generations. So Sean, you are the current owner here of Kieran's. Of course it's a family business, but I believe you're the 5th generation, which, I mean, that's almost unheard of. I mean, that's an incredible family history trait there. Can you tell us about it?
It is. It's not heard of much these days. The pub was bought by the Kiernans in 1873. It was bought by my great-great-grandfather, Brian, who then it went on to my great-granddad, John, then was passed on to my granddad, Jack, and then my father, John, and now it's myself, Sean. And I have a son, Jack, too. Maybe he'll carry on the tradition as well.
It's incredible. So you sort of grew up, I suppose, within the sort of the pub environment. So you've definitely come across the changes. But what's really interesting, I suppose, about this pub, as I mentioned, the family-owned, the fixtures that are still within this pub. Like Agnes, I know that you sort of married into this. Like, so can you tell me sort of about the rich history that's alive in this pub?
Well, 50 years ago, John and I got married, and it was a bar and grocery then. And shortly after that, we finished with the grocery end of it. But we have ledgers back to when Kiernan's bought it in 1873 of all the different customers and what they bought, and things like oil and candles were very important. And there was an RIC barracks across the road in those days, and their accounts are all in these ledgers as well. And when I got married, they still bottled the Guinness in the cellar downstairs, and had to have it bottled for so many weeks before they brought it up to the shelves to be sold. It had to be left for so many weeks. So when that finished, it made life a bit easier when it came bottled. And then...
So did it actually come from Dublin in barrels, or how did that work?
It came from Dublin in barrels, and they put it, there was a special opening to put it straight down into the cellar. And from there then they bottled it and corked it and labelled it and put it to rest for the few weeks. So it was a big operation.
God, I didn't even know that happened in the pubs, really. Like, I mean, it's amazing how you look at a a bottle of Guinness or anything else, and to think that actually happened within the pub here.
Yes.
That's incredible. And Agnes, you mentioned the book, the ledger book. So was there a shop also part of the pub as well?
Yes, it was a bar and grocery, and they had their own bacon. They still have the hooks on the ceiling there where the sides of bacon hung, and they sold milk and eggs and butter, and they would all have came from the farm, their own farm here. And then the extra things like oil and candles that were needed then because they didn't have electricity.
God, it's amazing. So then, Sean, from when, I suppose, handing it, Agnes, over, to Sean, your son, you must have seen, some incredible changes. I mean, both of you over the last number of years in the pub scene.
The two major changes, I'd say, would have been, the first one would have been the Euro coming in. That was a big change, and then the next one would have been the smoking ban, which was a massive change at the time. It seems to be all for the better now, but at the time it didn't seem like that.
And like the pub itself, I mean, it's quite, a long-standing landmark here within Carlingstown. I mean, we're talking sort of over 100 years, and like the pub is still very much standing and very much intact, with the character and keeping of it. I mean, it must give a real sense of joy to the local people.
It does. It seems to be part of the village, and it's nice that there's still an old part remaining. There are a lot of new houses now in the village, several new housing estates, but it's nice to have something of the old world Carlingstown still standing. I reared my family in the house attached to the pub here, and John and I still live in the pub.
Still keeping with all the action. And I believe, Sean, as well, I mean, the pub is very renowned for music.
It is, yeah.
Would you constantly have different music nights going?
We would have some music going a lot of the time, yeah. We'd have some traditional music, and then you'd have some parties, you'd have music for them as well.
And would you get a lot of people that are passing through, Sean, that might stop and sort of notice the keeping of the pub and the old style front, that would come in and ask questions about it?
You would, you get a lot of that, yeah. And during the week we wouldn't open till 5 o'clock. So some weekends you might have someone in and they'd say, God, we passed this place several times, but it wasn't open, and they'd come at the weekend or maybe later in an evening to come in and see it, because they'd be looking at the outside of it so much.
Well, guys, thank you so much for inviting us in this evening, and we'll have to try some of that famous Guinness of yours. So, Ken, can you tell me how long you've been running the guitar classes here in Carlingstown?
All in all, it's worked out. It's probably 7 to 8 years I've been looking after it, and it's a wide. It can range from 7, 8 years up to 16, 17, and occasionally you might get the odd adult who will be interested as well, pops along and takes a few lessons. But generally, it's 8 years. When I was more by mistake originally, or by fluke. My eldest son arrived home from school one day, and they were setting up a school choir for their communion year. And they were looking for participants from the different classes to take place. And the lady in question also seemed to mention that they needed a few parents who hadn't played music. So he promptly arrived home and told me the story. And when he told me about them looking for the children to take part in the choir, he turned around and I said to him, so, well, what was your outcome there? He says, I'm not doing it, but I put your name down as a part to do the guitar part of the choir. So I told him that was lovely. But from then, a couple of the parents that I was involved with at the time asked me would I be interested in showing their own kids a few bits and pieces on the guitar. I explained them at the time I wouldn't have a problem, but it's more of a group club. It's easy going. It's not school where you come out with letters and so forth after your name. It's just a bit of fun, and they get to meet. They'll end up getting to meet a few people and new friends, and occasionally we'll also get the chance to occasionally show. We might do few charity shows around, depending on just fundraising. I do get asked as well, would you be interested in just getting a few of the kids to play along, so there's a bit of background music. And that's how it initially started, through default of being me young lad being a certain, put me name forward, and the rest is
history.
8 years from there, and we're still going strong.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I see there's definitely a range of ages here as well.
There is,
so
yes.
Does that kind of help as well, getting a group of people, like, are they all at different levels?
Not really, because it's technically giveaways. Again, it's really a group for beginners, and there's no pressure. There'll be no pressure. It's all about a bit of fun and games, and what comes out of it. Some of the people in question over the years, they've probably end up nearly improving themselves, because it's, again, guitars, like anything, if they put on a little bit extra at home, it shows. But there's no pressure on anybody. It's just home here. We play a few bits and pieces. Tends to be always the case of what we'll do is each week, if someone comes, here's a new song or something they like off the television, they ask me, can we try this song? And if it seems to be guitar friendly, that we can transfer it over for everyone to play along, we go along. I end up getting the words and the chords, and we take it from there. And over so many weeks, we'll try and put it together. And I've plenty of singers as well as guitar players, and
brilliant.
That's helps the cause. Initially, the first year we started this, I done a lot of the singing myself, but with the help of a couple of people. Nowadays, I don't have to do any singing because I've plenty of talents around at the moment, and they do all the hard work for me.
And Ken, for people around the area that would like to maybe get involved in the guitar lessons, how can they best get in contact? Best
way is probably contact me through Facebook. My name's on, or else just kenbros@gmail.com. That'd be the easiest way. Because I always catch up with my emails as the days, in the evening time when I get a chance to sit down and have a look at my laptop.
Brilliant.
But, that's the two best ways: Facebook and my email address. Or if not, they'll always get me through Kieran's pub.
Excellent. Right. Yeah. Well, I think it's now time for the grand performance.
There you go. They won't let me down, I'm sure.
I had